What's going on, everybody? This is Island Hopper TV podcast, and today we're going to talk about my 30 days I spent in China. I rode high-speed trains. I went to 10 mega cities. I also used Alipay, WeChat, all of that stuff. I'm going to talk about the firewall, how I dealt with the, digital firewall that they have there. We're going to give some information about some of the tips you can have. So if you're someone who wants to travel China, this is the video for you. So just to let you know, this was my trip. Started in Hong Kong, went over to Macau. From Macau, I went back to Hong Kong, then I went to Shenzhen. From Shenzhen, I took a high-speed train to Guangzhou, took about an hour. From Guangzhou, I went to Chongqing. From Chongqing, I stayed through about 2 or 3 days, and then I went to Chengdu. Chengdu's way up there in Sichuan. It's still considered southeast China, or that kind of region. And then from there, I went up to Xi'An. That's where the terracotta soldiers are, or the terracotta army, as they call it. From there, I went up to Beijing, which is the capital, saw the Great Wall of China, spent a few days there, about 4 nights, 5 days. From Beijing, I took a high-speed train down to Shanghai. From Shanghai, I ended up going down to Hangzhou, which was about an hour away, and then I went up to Suzhou. From Suzhou, I went back down to Shenzhen. So you can see I went to a lot of places in 30 days. There was some places in between that I wanted to go that I didn't quite get to. Like I wanted to go up to Harbin. I wanted to go down to Yunnan, which is down there. They got some nice places. And then maybe even go over to Tibet. It's going to be another trip though. So let's talk about this. So when I first got into Shenzhen, I would say initial shock. Okay, wow, the firewall's real. You can't access Google, you can't access Facebook. Locals were telling me, oh, you need to get a certain type of SIM card. Thankfully for me, I had a foreign SIM card. I have AT&T back in the U.S. and I pay extra for that. And because of that, I was actually able to use Google and all that from my cell phone. The laptop situation was a different story though. So as I was going along, I was kind of like, how am I going to figure that out? Well, everyone was telling me all sorts of different things. They were like, Let's VPN or something like that, or Surfshark. And, you basically have to have one of those like installed on your phone or on your computer before you go if you don't. And so I was just basically like a fish out of water for about 3 or 4 days trying to figure out how to get, connectivity and everything. And then once I got the hang of it, then it was all good. But the VPN, the firewall stuff, that's all real. Like you need to be prepared for that, and you need to have things in place before you arrive. Also, before you arrive, I recommend setting up an Alipay and a WeChat. And in order to activate both of those, you need to have a bank card set up to that. What I did was I used my MasterCard and my Chase Ink Sapphire card. I just linked those up. So you want to have that all set up before you get there, so you're not like fumbling around by the time you get to a taxi and you're like sitting there in the taxi trying to pay. You need to have a 6-digit code. Make sure it's something that you'll easily remember, because oftentimes when you pay by QR code, about 1 out of every 2 transactions, they're going to ask you to verify your PIN. That happened quite often. I found that for me, Alipay just works better. A lot of people, it seem like the locals, they use WeChat once they get the hang of it. So it's like WeChat has a little bit of a learning curve, or it glitches more, but for the tourist, it seemed like Alipay was the best out-of-the-box solution right out of the gate. And inside of Alipay app, you have like Didi, you have Meitaiwan, you have transport cards inside there. Like that app is very deep. There's a lot of stuff in there. They have a translator app. I mean, I've never seen an app with so much in-depth like add-ons in there. It's like a one-stop shop inside of Alipay. And as you get going and traveling around, you'll realize you're like, this Alipay app is amazing. I mean, it's got the monopoly on everything. I mean, WeChat doesn't even really have that. I mean, they have the social integration where you can chit chat with people, but yeah, I mean, it's a big thing. So moving beyond all of the electronics and digital connections and communication stuff, because you got to have that ready to go, right? I would say that the high-speed trains were very impressive. I was typically riding a high-speed train in first class or business class several times for no more than $300. Like the furthest route and the most I ever spent, I think from Beijing to Shanghai in first class, business class as they call it, and it only costs like $280. And that's like in a capsule pod and everything like that. Reason I do that is because for 6 hours on a train, I don't know, what the seating conditions are going to be like. And for $280, I've paid that to fly on a long haul flight, in the U.S. or anywhere, even around Asia. So to me, it was just worth the convenience to have that capsule pod where the seat like reclines back, and you can really relax. They also give you a meal. They give you a snack box. It's just a more comfortable experience. But if you wanted to save money, yeah, you can sit in the basic second class or whatever they call it, economy, and save a lot of money. I mean, you could get it for, I think, like 600 yuan to go from Beijing to Shanghai. That's a really good price on a high speed train. I pretty much only rode high speed trains. Actually, the train that I took from Shenzhen to Guangzhou, I'm not so sure that was a high speed train, although the train moves faster than Amtrak. So to me, it's like still a high speed train. It's just not like one of those 200 miles an hour, like over 300 kilometers per hour trains that you're going to get when you go from, like, I don't know, Chengdu to Xi'An, or Chongqing to Chengdu. I mean, those trains were really ripping. I mean, I remember looking at the peak speeds on the big screen and being like, man, this train's really hauling. And actually, when you're going in the area around Sichuan, or even in Chongqing where the Yangtze River is there, it's a lot of mountains. So in order to get a high-speed train to go that fast consistently, they have to build a bunch of tunnels. So you're constantly like going through a tunnel and then coming out for like a second or 2 seconds, and then you're going back through a long tunnel, and then you're coming out for like 5 seconds, and then you're going back into another tunnel for 10 seconds. So it's like they had to bore a lot of tunnels to build these tracks, because a high-speed train basically needs to go flat in order to maintain its speed. So it's a quite impressive modern infrastructure. I think it's the biggest in the world in terms of a high-speed network. I don't think any other country even comes close. Maybe Japan, or like Europe has some high-speed trains, but it's nothing on the scale or distance of what I saw in China, and they keep adding on to it too. So it's like they're not even done building it. As far as like modern China goes, I like modern China, but actually the real thing that captivates me as a traveler is the ancient China, the old China. The old China, it's not, you don't want to stay like in a hotel from like, the 1950s or the 1940s, because the quality is not going to be there. But what I'm talking about is like the ancient China, like the villages, the forts, the just basically the old ancient villages, the walking streets. That's the best part of China, in my opinion. The modern stuff is cool to look at, but like other than just looking at it and being like, wow, that's a really nice big building, that's cool, or like that's a really impressive skyline, to me it's kind of just like Dubai. Like if you don't like Dubai because it's got big buildings, like I mean the things I like about Dubai is like the Bedouin culture, and like the actual culture, not the modern world. I'm not saying the modern world is interesting, it's just for me it feels like without soul. It doesn't matter where you are, whether you're in the US or China or in the Middle East or Europe. It's like people want culture when they travel. They want to see like what the Chinese people are like as a culture, whether that's food or whether that's the ancient villages, going off into those nature areas like where the avatars are. I think it's called Zijiji. I have a hard time pronouncing that one. Or Guilin. There's lots of different nature places in China, and they got a big desert on the whole west. I mean, the whole west of China is like a whole nother world than the east. I mean, even if you look on a map, it's green basically from Sichuan and the mountains to the east, and then to the west is just like the Gobi Desert, or like some big desert just going in all directions until you get to Kazakhstan. Now, as far as the food goes, oh my goodness, food in China is just great. I mean, there's some countries you go to where you're like, man, I'm really craving a cheeseburger. Like, I never really craved a cheeseburger or anything. Like, the whole time I was always wanting Chinese food because it's so delicious. I mean, the spices, they call it the Spice Orient, I think, back in the old days. And I could see why. I mean, there's just so much flavor in the foods, whether it be like a lamb skewer in Xi'An, like a big old lamb skewer on a willow tree, like stick. Like, all of the sticks are on like actually a tree branch. They're not like fabricated, like, barbecue skewers. They're actual like sticks from like real trees, and they put it on the grill and they cook it right there. And I don't know, maybe the willow tree adds a little bit of flavor to the meat, but you got like big morsels of just lamb, or mutton as they call it. You got chicken, beef. I mean, it's just so delicious. And the spices they put on there, it's like curcumin. I don't know what all the spices are on there. Maybe some like Szechuan chili peppers. I mean, the Szechuan chili peppers are an interesting pepper because it kind of numbs your mouth. I actually found it to be interesting when you drink a carbonated drink after you've been eating Sichuan peppers. It kind of makes your mouth, it gives you a really unique feeling in your mouth when you have Sprite and a Sichuan pepper flavor in your mouth. It's something that I can't quite explain, but Mouth is kind of numb. It's a little bit spicy, not anything too crazy, not like a ghost pepper or like, a habanero or anything, but it's just a unique feeling in your mouth. You got to try it. That's all I could say. But yeah, China, as far as the people go, oh my gosh, I wasn't sure what to expect. I was like, maybe they'll hate me because I'm American. Maybe they'll hate me because of Trump or something, going on like that, because you see it every day on the news. I mean, every day you see it on the news. I mean, whatever your political opinion doesn't matter. Once you're in China as an American, you're just like, well, I'm here solo by myself in China. What do I expect? So people were just very friendly. Like they know I didn't really experience any sort of like racism or hatred or anger towards me for being a foreigner. I'm not saying they all knew where I was from, but even when I did say I was from America, they would all say, "Oh, cool, hello, welcome," or some of them didn't even speak English. Like, I still don't know what they call America in Chinese, but it's not America. Like, if you say they call it something else. I can't quite remember. Even China, like what they call China, is not how you call China. They have a whole different words for things. So that's whatever I would say I'm from America, I'd have to use the translator app, because if I just said I'm from USA or America, they would be like, what? You have to use the translator app and it says something. Actually, let me pull up the translator app. That's another thing you need to have, is like Google Translate if you use that, or the Alipay app if you don't get it set up. But if I just type in America right here and translate it to Chinese,
美国
Megua, Megua. See, I'm just saying, like, you think it's this is China, okay?
中国
Zhonghua. That's how they say China. So I'm just letting you know, like, even when you think words are gonna be the way that they are, like, even if you look at something like, I don't know, Shanghai, or if you look at like Suzhou or Hangzhou, you think that you know how to spell it or whatever, and then you say it some way, and then they'll be like, huh, and you're like, Hangzhou. You try to like pronunciate it, and they're still like, huh, because you'll come across that quite often, where it's like that's not even how you say a lot of the words. But like I said, I mean, with America, I still don't even know why they say it that way, or China's not said that way, but it is what it is, right? But yeah, the people overall were very friendly to me everywhere. There was not a single place that I went. I mean, there was times where I was like kind of nervous, because I was like, okay, I'm going deeper into China. I'm going further away from like, the famous cities, like when I was going into Sichuan, or like going into Chongqing in the Yangtze Valley, because I knew there was going to be less tourists, or less people that look like me, or less people from America possibly being there, like Xi'An, for example. I was just basically, I don't think I've seen a single American in Xi'an the whole time I was there. But I mean, at the Terracotta Soldiers, maybe, but like walking around, I mean, there's not very many foreigners there. It's pretty much, if there are foreigners, they're usually like Russian, or maybe, yeah, mostly Russian. But I'm just saying, like, you don't know what to expect. You don't know what the sentiment is, but it was always, there was no animosity. There was no like hatred. I didn't pick up on any of that. They're not very into like political movements, but they're very nationalistic. So they do support their country, they love their country, and they do stick together very well. But they don't do it in like a way of like, they don't do it in a rude way. They don't do it in a way of like, like what I don't know. It's not like arrogant. I'm not going to say it's not arrogance, or I'm not going to say it's not pride, but it's just they're not going to like ostracize you or make you feel like an outcast. But they do stick together. So I would say that, like, it's one of those things, like, if you mess with them, they will come together against you, because they will pick their national people. And there's 1.4 billion people in China, so I mean, it is what it is. I mean, there were some people trying to ask me, like, through the way, they're like, are you sure there's 1.4 billion people in China? Does it really feel like it? And there was times where I was kind of like, in the middle of the country, and I'm like looking at the map, and I'm like, is it really 1.4 billion people? Because that's like 3 or 4 times the amount of the population of the U.S. But as I went around, I mean, there's some areas that are just so big cities. And the thing about like the big cities, so yeah, there's big urban sprawl, but all the way in that urban sprawl is skyscrapers. So it's like skyscraper. So people are living in like skyscrapers, maybe like 10,000 people in each skyscraper. I don't even know how it is. So it's not like homes they have homes, but it's not like homes in like Australia. You know, you go to suburbia in Sydney or Melbourne, you just see homes, grids of homes. You go to U.S. in Phoenix or Chicago or something, you just see, cookie cutters of homes. There, they have cookie cutters of skyscrapers where people are living. So yeah, it felt I could see how it's 1.4 billion people, but I guess there's some myth online or some story online where people are saying the population is much lower than it is. And I was kind of thinking about it because someone sent me like a video about that. I'm pretty sure they got like 1.4 billion people. I mean, there's no way to actually count it because how do you count 1.4 billion people? I mean, I have a hard time like looking at a crowd of like 50,000 people at like Cowboy Stadium or something and saying that's 50,000 people. So I don't even know what 1.4 billion people looks like. That's a lot of people. I mean, there was places I went where it didn't feel crowded, like in Chengdu, big city. I guess it's like 15 to 20 million people. Didn't really feel too crowded. Even Beijing at times didn't really feel too crowded. But the thing is, Chengdu, Beijing, they're huge megatropolises. Huge, huge, huge. Like they go in all directions. Chengdu didn't really feel like a megatropolis. I still don't know how they have 20 million people there because I didn't go all the way outside of Chengdu and it never really felt too crowded. It always felt kind of peaceful. Even Chongqing. Chongqing's a very interesting place. I mean, they call it a sci-fi, futuristic, cyberpunk, whatever the heck all that means. I didn't even know what cyberpunk means, but people kept calling it cyberpunk. And I'm just like, okay, but as I went around there, I was like, this is an amazing city. Like that one, imagine Pittsburgh with 20 times the amount of people, literally. Like that's what it is because it's where like the Jiang River and the Yangtze River come together and form an even bigger Yangtze River. The Yangtze River ultimately comes into the river delta north of Shanghai. Goes through like Nanjing. That's a big place. I mean, they had a big canal. I didn't even know about the Great Canal. Like people talk about the Panama Canal. They talk about these other canals that were built, Venice. In China, they have a canal that connects from Beijing down to Suzhou. Did you know that? That's incredible, right? I mean, it's amazing. Like, that's a long distance. That's a heck of a long distance. That's the Great Canal. And the reason they built that man-made canal, it's kind of like the Great Wall of China. Expands, I think they said like 13,000 miles. 13,000 miles to build a wall. Think about that, guys. That's huge. That is huge. It took like 1,000 years to build it. But they also did that I mean, the scale of the projects in China is amazing. Old school, new school, like the modern and old. Like China it's like in the blood in China to just do massive, large scale projects. Doesn't matter how long it takes. The will of the people is to do like these mega projects. And that Great Canal is amazing. It's like the Great Wall of China. I mean, that Great Canal, it was for silk. It was for trading silk. And you guys already know about the Silk Road. I mean, think about the Silk Road, which basically begins in Xi'An, or used to begin in Xi'An, and goes all the way to like the Middle East. I mean, that's through some mountains and all that stuff. So, I mean, the will of the people to trade, to do business. I mean, it's just like they have big scale projects, old and modern. I mean, the modern stuff is quite impressive as well, as you'll see with the buildings. I mean, I think Shanghai has like the most skyscrapers in the world or something, or is that Shenzhen? One of the cities has more skyscrapers than any other place in the world in their metro area. Shanghai has a ton Shenzhen has a ton. I mean, these are tall buildings everywhere. But Guangzhou is another city that's just amazing. I would say the food in the south is better than the north. Like, I was underimpressed with the food in Beijing. Like, when I got to Beijing, I was expecting to have like the best food. I was like, this is the capital. This is going to be where the best food is. They have Peking duck and they have good food. But for me, where I was really enjoying the food, probably around like Shanghai. I thought Shanghai had really good food, just good diversity, especially the dumplings, the soup dumplings. Oh my goodness, so good. But then also around like Canton, Guangzhou. Guangzhou has really good food. Like, that was one of the places. Xi'an has really good barbecue. Really good barbecue, actually. Sichuan's another place. Like, I went to Sichuan and I'm like looking it up and they're telling me about like Kung Pao chicken. I didn't even eat Kung Pao chicken the whole time I was in Sichuan. Or like Chongqing, they have like hot pot. It's like very common hot pot in Chongqing. But it was just so interesting. I would say the South had better food, in my opinion, than like the North. I only really went to Beijing in the north. I didn't get it all the way up to Harbin, and I still got to go up to like the area known as like formerly Manchuria or Outer Mongolia, that whole area. I didn't quite get up there, but as of right now, I would say the South has the better food. It's just my opinion so far. Dim sum, another thing, like also what you eat in like Chinese restaurants outside of China, like in the U.S. or Europe, that food cuisine is totally different than what you get inside China. I know that's kind of common with like, you know, other foods and cuisines, but like literally what you think Chinese food is not really what they actually eat in China. I mean, they even eat corn. Like corn was a very common food at breakfast buffets or other types of buffets, and as you know, corn comes from the U.S. or like the Americas, right? Like the Native Americans gave the world corn. It's kind of like how the Italians use tomato sauce, right? Like that came from the Americas as well. They didn't have tomato sauce before they found it in the Americas, or chocolate, Swiss chocolate. But corn, they ate a lot of corn, more potatoes than I thought as well. Like there was a lot of potatoes. Like usually you think like rice and pasta. I don't know if this is like a new thing that's coming up where like the diet is kind of changing. It could be the case, but that was definitely something. I didn't fly into any airports. They do have big airports. I know they have big modern airports just like they have trains. But really there you just need the trains. I mean, that's it. Cash, I didn't really use much cash, although I would take out like 2,000 yuan in cash. That's like $300. And a lot of times that would last me like over a week. Which is a long time considering the pace and the frequency and the amount of stuff that I do when I travel. Just because I'm always, you know, a full day for me starts at like 9 in the morning and ends at like 9 at night. So, I mean, I'm doing a lot of activities, filming things to do, and, you know, going around to places. And I wasn't really going through cash. I was mostly just using Alipay quite often. And meals there were like $3, $4, you know, like 16, 18 yuan for like a thing of wonton noodle. I mean, you know, $3 or $4. You're not going to find a meal in the U.S. or in Europe for $3 or $4, or maybe you could, I guess, if you ate it like a gas station or something. But the food, you know, it's like regular restaurant food for like $3 or $4. And that was pretty much all over China. I would say that as far as my favorite cities go, Chongqing is definitely a city you probably want to visit. Xi'An definitely exceeded my expectations. I didn't really know much about it. I just knew about the terracotta soldiers before I went. But that was a city that was quite impressive. Beijing is interesting. I mean, it's the thing about Beijing that I really was impressed with was I didn't realize there was going to be like beautiful lakes and rivers. They have like beautiful lakes and rivers out there. But the city itself is huge. Beijing is a huge city. Shanghai has an amazing skyline, but the top three probably for me would have to be Chongqing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen. No, or Guangzhou. I would say you could do Shanghai or Shenzhen and Guangzhou on the same trip. If you do the Shanghai route, you could probably do like Shanghai, Hangzhou, Suzhou easily. That like little triangle right there. You could do that in a week if you wanted. I mean, you could do like 3 or 4 days in Shanghai, 2 or 3 days in Hangzhou, 1 or 2 days in Suzhou, and then that's a nice little China triangle right there. Beautiful cities. If you wanted to do like the Beijing Triangle, as they call it, or something like that, you could see the Great Wall, and you could see Xi'An, which is also the terracotta soldiers. Or if you wanted to do Canton, you could easily do like Hong Kong, Macau, Shenzhen, and Guangzhou. If you wanted to go to Zhuhai, you could also do that. So it's a really interesting trip. Hope you guys enjoy it. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. See you on the next one from Island Hopper TV. And if you guys want to see more travel podcasts, click the link right here. I'll tell you about how I got started as a travel vlogger.